I'm just reading what your mother said. She stated Preston became irate, grabbed her, choked her with one hand around her neck and threw her onto the bedroom floor. She also advised that while she was being choked, she had trouble talking but did not lose consciousness. She also advised their 4-year-old daughter was sitting in the living room at the time of the argument.
Who was in the living room? There wasn't nobody in the living room. It was just me and her there.
Now, we are accustomed to these parole revocation hearings out of the state of Louisiana when it's a significant other, but not when it's mom. And that's who they were referring to, what he did to his mama. Anyways, let's go jump into this crazy Louisiana parole revocation hearing.
Has he given you any problems since he's been in there, Sergeant?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having us today. We're going to proceed with the hearing. Okay, Mr. Perry, state your name and DOC number for the record.
Jonathan Wayne Perry, 518441.
Do you have your parole questionnaire?
No, sir, I don't got one.
Okay, please put one up on the screen and we'll see if that's your signature. Is that your signature on the form?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That form said you were not eligible for appointed counsel. Do you wish to hire your counsel?
No, sir, I just want to speak for myself.
Okay, so you're gonna proceed today, okay? Mr. Perry, you don't have anybody here speaking on your behalf. I'm gonna be your hearing officer, so I'm gonna lead it off. I'll read you a condition. You plead guilty or not guilty with or without a statement. And at the proper time, I'll ask you questions and you can explain to me what happened, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got violation condition number 4 on 3/26/25. You were arrested by the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office for domestic abuse battery. On 4/2/25, the domestic abuse charge was dismissed by the Jefferson Parish District Attorney's Office. How do you plead to that charge?
Yes, sir, I was arrested on it. Yes, sir. I was arrested on it. It got dismissed.
Okay, but you plead not guilty then?
What you mean plead not guilty? I'm pleading, I got the charge. I did get the charge. But he did
Right, gotta plead guilty or not guilty. Did you do the domestic battery or not?
No, sir. No, sir. That's why I got dismissed by the judge.
Okay, so you plead not guilty to that one.
Yes,
And
sir.
you're currently $432 in arrears in your supervision fees. How do you plead to that charge?
Yes, sir. I've been in jail. I've been staying in jail, sir. That's why I ain't paid up. I did
Okay.
90 days out for 2 months and I came right back for 90 days.
Okay, what was that 90 days for?
It was me and my brother-in-law didn't see eye to eye and they got me for verbal aggravated battery and they ended up dropping it to a disturbing the peace. The same thing this one should have been.
Okay. All right. So that was the one, did you have a machete in that instance?
No, but it was a machete at my sister's house and they did get a machete from behind the house.
Okay, so did you use the machete at all or did he have the machete? Who had the machete?
It was just at my sister's house in the back room.
Okay. Yeah, they said that you went after your brother, her brother, and Marion Carter. Devin Walker and Marion Carter. So, okay. All right.
She came with her charge on me. She just said it didn't happen.
Okay. All right. And what about the domestic abuse battery charge? Tell me about that.
Sir, me and my mama got in an argument we had just moved in a trailer. Me and my mama got in an argument. She was on the wrong medicine. We got in an argument one morning and the police got called and they came over there and they got me because of domestic violence. I wouldn't say that, talk to them, and they got me for domestic violence, but it should have been, the judge dropped it. The judge seen there wasn't no bodily harm, there wasn't nothing that went on, and the judge ended up dropping it, but he did stick me with the possession of marijuana.
Okay. And then, so did you hit her?
No, sir.
Why was she noticeably beaten and bleeding and had red bruises?
Sir, if they would have had bruises, they would have arrested, they wouldn't have dropped it in court.
Okay, but this was the officer saying that she had all of this.
That's what I'm saying. But the judge.
Sometimes they drop it in court because the witness won't show up to testify.
Yes, sir. Why did I just want to talk to her on the phone. She don't know how to set up the interview, but I just want to talk to her on the phone. I would be getting out of here. If I beat on her, you know what I'm saying? If I would have beat my mom or something, the charge wouldn't have got dropped. I did not. It was an argument. And that's all it was an argument. The judge dropped it. And that's all I can do is pray that y'all go with the judge's decision. That's all I can do is ask y'all. But no, sir, it was no beatings or nothing like that.
So, do you have any other
I have no
questions?
questions. He answered.
How about you?
Yeah. What's it?
Okay, because I'm just reading what your mother said. She stated Preston became irate, grabbed her, choked her with one hand around her neck and threw her onto the bedroom floor. She also advised that while she was being choked, she had trouble talking but did not lose consciousness. She also advised their 4-year-old daughter was sitting in the living room at the time of the argument.
Who was in the living room? There wasn't nobody in the living room. It was just me and her there.
Okay,
Oh, there's an answer.
how old is your mother?
62. I can get her on the phone. You know what I'm saying? She don't know how to set up the YouTube thing to get on here. She was supposed to come up here. She was trying to get on here earlier. I just went and talked to her.
Okay. All right, I have further questions. Do you have any further questions?
No.
So,
No, I mean, based upon the observations of the law enforcement officer, and it's his observations, there was, bruising in the throat area around her trachea, and like she said, she was having trouble talking. And so that certainly indicates strangulation. And then she had other bloody areas. So that's the police report.
y'all argue a lot. I see where you say y'all argue every day.
No, sir. It was all about drugs, sir. It was all about drugs. And this is the first time I've been sober. And I've been in and out of the system for 18 years, man. I've been in and out of the system. I ain't never had no help. And that's what I want to ask y'all. If we and her can't be alone, even if they violate my parole, I probably ain't got, but by the time the paperwork, I didn't have but 2 years on parole. I've been in jail 5.5 months.
Yeah. You got a full-term date in 2 years. Correct.
Yes, sir. So that's 8 months.
All right, we're ready to vote now, okay? I'll vote first. My vote is to revoke. You did plead to the drug charge, and due to the officer's report, I think you're a danger to society. My vote is to revoke.
My vote is to revoke also, and I suggest that you take some anger management classes.
Sir, I got a bed waiting at.
Wait, hold up, we vote.
I concur with Mr. Freeman. My vote is to revoke.
Okay, your parole has been revoked today. We'll be closing out at Grant Parish at 8:57.
And a quick revoke. And really, can you even imagine? The whole thing is so crazy out of Louisiana. It's like he has a machete, and then he's doing this to his mother, and then his mother has a 4-year-old child there. So I guess that would be his brother, or half brother at least, right? It's just the whole thing is, but what's funny is I was like, child, there was no child. That was the only time he had an objection. So I was kind of showing his cards if you want. He didn't object about the machete or anything else, right? We're about to see another hearing. And this one is for a man who wasn't against his own mother, but there are allegations of what he did to his pets. So not much better, if at all. We're going to meet a CO, by the way, in this hearing. The CO, he is the youngest looking CO that we have ever seen. He looks like he must be like 12 years old, which makes the entire interaction, I think, even just a little bit more out there. So anyways, I'll give you some information. Here he is, the prince. he had his this charge that he's serving time on in 2018 when he ran away from a cop in his vehicle and then crashed his car. So, another nice guy, a good guy, a good guy. Let's jump in.
Mr. Heck, please state your name and DOC number for the record. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Get somebody unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay, so get your name and DOC number.
Shane Hex, DOC number 337829.
Okay, is there any guard there with you?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Heck, as I stated, I'm gonna be doing your hearing today. I'm gonna read the violations. You plead guilty, not guilty, with or without a statement. And then I'll ask you questions. Okay, you last made contact with probation and parole in March 2024. You failed to contact your officer when you moved. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty. That is actually incorrect. The officer that they gave me, that's incorrect.
No, tell that officer to come in, please. He's right behind.
Oh,
Officer, you should come in for a second, please. Okay, could you state your name, please?
My name's
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fields.
Okay. Could you tell us anything about Mr. Hex? Has he given y'all any problems since he's been there?
I've been with him for about 20 to 30 minutes. He hasn't given me any problems. I'm not.
Okay. Okay, so you're not on his walk or not?
The actual.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be Terry. He's the one.
All right, now, let's get back to you. Thank you, sir. That's all we needed. So what, you pled not guilty and why?
Yes, sir. I pled not guilty to that charge because I was released in March of where they're saying that I was released from here and I reported immediately to my parole officer at the time, Mr. Eric the Dream. And he was congratulating me because I told him I was going to report as soon as I got out. And he said, you was completely honest with me. He said, you're one of the first ones that actually reported as soon as you got out. So I reported successfully to Mr. Eric the Dream up until, I think it was June. I called him for my monthly report in June, and Mr. Vidrine told me that I wasn't on his roster any longer. And he asked me, had I changed addresses or anything of that nature? And I said, no, sir, I'm still at the same address. And he said, call up here to the main office of probation and parole and find out what's going on. He said, if you haven't changed addresses or anything, he said, I'll still be your officer because that's my area. So I called immediately as soon as I got off the phone with him. Their phone line was completely going berserk for several months, according to them. And
So are you still living at 1907? Is that where you still reside?
no, sir, that's the main issue. That's what happened. I live at 209 Sulphur. That's why he was my parole officer, assigned to me for that address. And come to find out, the reason that they put me under this Miss Michaela Laverne is because they went off of one of my previous addresses. And that's when I talked to him. He said, well, get it straight with them and let them know that you haven't moved. And I continued, like he told me to keep calling their office. I called that whole month of June. And I called him back when it was time for me to report the next month in July. And I explained to him I'd been calling every day.
I'm finding you not guilty on that one, so you could quit explaining, okay? That's rule number three. Number three, yeah. Condition number 4, you engaged in criminal activity as evident by your arrest by the Quincy Police Department on 8/7/24 for aggravated cruelty to animals and simple battery of the infirm. On 1/30/225, charges of aggravated cruelty to animals felony and simple battery in the firm of the infirm were no pros. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty.
Okay, what went on? Why the police were called and what happened?
Well, okay, I was renovating Miss Nadine Walton's house. And, I was hanging sheetrock and remodeling her house. So, she actually, we signed the contract. I didn't have my own transportation, so there would be times that I didn't have a ride. So she would furnish me a room at her residence to be taken off of the final end of the renovation. If I needed, if I needed to stay there, because like I said, I didn't have my own personal ride. But I showed up to her house probably on like July the 28th, I believe it was. I caught a ride to her house so I could continue working on her house. I let myself in because I had a key to her house because we had an agreement. And when I came into the house, I was calling her name. And I hear her, she calls back to me, sounds like it's coming from the laundry room. So I go into the laundry room, she's clutching her chest. And I'm like, what's going on, Miss Nadine? Are you okay? She said, no. She said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I said, well, what's going on? She informed me that the night prior to me, that morning, me coming over, that she had injected crystal methamphetamines. And I said, let me call 911 so you can go to the emergency room or whatever, they can come out and see, make sure that you're okay. She said she didn't want to call 911. She just wanted to go to her room and lay down and try to recover, shake back, whatever. So I helped her to her room and I went on about my business, hanging sheetrock, carrying on. And while I was doing it, there were several people coming to her house that day. And I let them all know, that what had happened, whenever I came in, how I found her. And I said, if any of y'all know anything about drugs or anything, don't give them to her. Because I explained that she was having an issue. And I told several people that day. I didn't know if any of them had been bringing it, but I was letting them know. They did know who was giving her the drugs to not.
The confrontation take place.
That same day, but it was probably about 2:00 in the morning. I was in my room. I was in my room sleeping. That she furnished for me. She busted through the door approximately, like I said, 2:00 in the morning, and started pounding me in the face. You could refer to my booking photos that I had a black eye. She started pounding me in the face, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Whoa! I was woke up out of my sleep. And she says, "You need to get out of here because you're telling everybody not to give me any drugs anymore. That's none of your business." I said, "Miss Nadine, I was just looking out for your best interest." And I said, "Look," and I had video surveillance of the entire altercation in the room. I had cameras in the room. And I said, "I'm just gonna call the law right now to get this straight." I said, "You are on video and that will exonerate me. I didn't do nothing wrong." I said, "I can press charges on you." She begged me not to call the police. So I did. And approximately 10 days later, her daughter came over. I'm hanging sheetrock. Her daughter comes in and tells me that I need to leave. I said, "Look," "I have permission and a written contract with your mother that I can be here renovating." She said, "Well, you need to leave." And she started pushing on me and slapping me. So I left. And I came back the next morning and the police showed up. The police questioned me. I explained to them what had happened 10 days prior to this, because this was 10 days later. And I still had the black eye and everything. Explained my side of the story, told him I was the victim. He said, "Okay." I told him about the video and he said, "Okay." He said, well, let me go talk to her. And, he went and talked to her and she said that she wanted me to leave. He said, but she couldn't make me leave because there would have to be eviction proceedings. And I said, look, I said, I will leave. I said, but I got $20,000 worth of tools over here. And he told me, he said, you don't have to leave because y'all have a written agreement. He said, there's a process she has to go through. I said, as soon as I get a ride, I will leave. I got $20,000 worth of tools here. And he said, all right. And he said, did you want to press charges on Miss Nadine or her daughter? Because her daughter, like I said, her daughter pushed me around and slapped me the night before. And I said, no, sir. And he said, okay. So they left. And they came back about 2 or 3 hours later and said that I answered the door and they told me that I had a parole violation. So they arrested me for a parole violation. They didn't arrest me for any of the allegations that was lodged against me because they found it unmerited at the time. So they took me to the Quincy PD, and I was there for probably 4 or 5 hours. And probation and parole showed up, picked me up, and brought me here, Calhoun Parish Sheriff's Office. I was here probably for about a week. Miss Laverne, the new PO that they supposedly switched me to that I never had made contact with, came up to see me. I explained to her the same thing that I told y'all about calling and their phone lines was messed up. She said, you know what? She said, I believe you, Mr. Hicks. She said, I'm going to drop the hole. And I said, okay, thank you. So she left. About 11 days later, I'm wondering what's going on. So I hit the call button in the day room of where I was being housed at and spoke to the deputies in the tower. And they said that they had the reason that I hadn't been released yet is because they placed charges on me, which were the charges that you just spoke about. And I was like, okay. So I immediately filed a motion to receive my discovery packet, a preliminary examination, and a motion for speedy trial to go in, to speed this process up because I was not guilty of anything and I wanted to be clear. So they answered my motions and everything. It granted everything, but they ended up rejecting my charge. The charges was unmerited. There was no evidence or anything on these charges. So they offered me a plea bargain for a misdemeanor. I said, I'm not taking nothing because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not admitting guilt in something that I didn't do. So on January the 30th, I went for misdemeanor trial. They NPO'd the charges. The charges was dismissed. I was never formally arrested for those charges to begin with. I was arrested for a parole violation. So they never came to me and rebooked me, Mirandized me, or anything.
The parole violation was the charges.
Sir?
Parole violation was the charges. That's why they said you were arrested for parole violation. But anyway, so you got found, so they know across those charges.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about the dog. Why you slammed the dog in the door?
I did not slam no dog. That dog got ran over or something. I didn't even know nothing.
They had a neighbor back there said he went inside, the dog was laying there and the dog died because he got slammed in the door.
I didn't do anything to a dog. Like I said, I had an entire video of that whole house, video surveillance of that whole house. It could provide the SD card to the courts. That's why all these charges was rejected and dismissed because they didn't have any evidence that I did.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna they charged you with being in arrears of $1,701. Did you make any payments on your supervision fees at all?
No, sir, I did not. Just like I said, sir.
Why not? You had a job.
Because I just started working for Miss Nadine and I was telling Mr. Bedreen that, and he said, we'll worry about that later. So you can do some community service or whatever to take care of that.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna get to your main violation now. Why you threaten that probation officer?
I didn't threaten that probation.
They should have pressed charges on you for what you did to that probation officer.
I didn't threaten her.
So you saying you didn't threaten to kill her and you didn't throw your paperwork through the thing?
No, sir, I did not. I was arguing with an inmate that was sitting outside of the thing. He threatened to kill me.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, we're now gonna vote. My vote today is for revocation. I don't believe your story whatsoever. And, so my vote is to revoke. Violating conditions number 4 and number 10.
I concur.
And I concur.
Okay,
What is
Nate,
4 and 10?
vote. Huh?
What is 4 and 10, sir?
Can't hear you.
What is
I
T?
said, what is violation 4 and 10?
10 is, not paying supervision fees. 4 is that I find you guilty, because I believe there was some kind of action that took place. There was a battle and there was some fighting. But, regardless, the
Those
threat to
charges
probation
were
officer probation officers threatened should also have been charges. And there was witnesses to that. Today, your probation has been revoked, parole's been revoked. We're closing out at Calcasieu at 10:50.
Who else doesn't care that he got revoked? Actually, who else is happy that he got revoked? I mean, the empathy it runs dry when you hear Mr. Pete Freeman ask the question about the dog. And he's like, oh, I don't know. It got hit by a car. Yeah. Okay. Sure. We all believe that. Everybody believes that. It's enough. Go sit in prison. That's where you belong. Stay there. And, I'd be fine if we don't see you for another 25 years or so. Some people, they just need time to grow up. They need time to sit and think about their actions, age out. And yeah, retribution, that's a thing too. It's just, the problem is that when you do light sentences, when you get out after, you just end up right back where you were, causing mayhem, damage, pain, and suffering wherever you go. And whenever someone says, man, dude, where's your empathy for the inmate? It's so easy to say, where's your empathy for the victims? I'll sit back and wait for you to answer that question. And now we're about to watch the parole hearing of another prince, as you can see, Prince Charming right here. And he was blessed with some, I guess, good attorneys because he was sentenced as an habitual offender to 50 years in prison, but he won on appeal and had that habitual sentence reversed. What did he do with his gift? Well, subsequently got a DWI where he ran from the cops and then I guess got out on parole again and now has picked up more charges and is here facing revocation. So there you have it. Let's jump in.
Good morning, Mr. Netherby. They showed that you're in violation of, number 4 and number 10. So number 4 is on 7/28/24. Is that right, or was it 2? Because they got 72. So was it February or later of 24 that you were arrested by
When did you get arrested?
7?
July 28th, 2024,
So you've been in jail all that time? So you've been in jail 8 months, 9 months?
9 months, yes, sir.
Okay, thank
Okay. For domestic abuse, aggravated assault, and domestic abuse battery, and you was booked in the Washita County for Washita. On December 17th, 24, the charges were dismissed by the district attorney's office. How do you plead on that?
I plead not guilty. I mean, I was arrested. But I'm not guilty of what I was accused of. I don't know how to plead to that. I mean, not guilty to the accusations of the crime, but I was arrested, yes. I mean,
Okay, but you're pleading not guilty, so that's the question. And the second one is, you are currently $315 in arrears on your supervision fees.
And that, if I miss something, yes, I'm guilty, but if it's while I'm in jail, no, I'm not guilty.
Okay. Couldn't pay it. Up before jail, though, you were in compliance with that?
Yes, ma'am, fully. The best of my knowledge, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I read the statements from everybody, your family, yourself, that the lady suffers from mental illness.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
She just goes into a rage. You were staying with your father. Who were you staying with before your father, though?
With my grandmother in Wynn Parish,
So
Winfield, Louisiana.
what made you leave your grandmother's place?
Because I thought, I didn't know my dad for 50 years.
Right.
And I started visiting him. And he said he had congestive heart failure. So I wanted to know who he was before I can't know him.
Um,
That was why I thought I made the right decision and I did not.
Let me ask you something. When all this first started, I had read somewhere that you must have called your probation officer. That's before the arrest and everything, and was telling him about the aggressive nature of your
Yes,
girlfriend.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think he said then that you should call the sheriff's office and report her for her being violent towards you.
Right.
You didn't do it, right?
I didn't agree with it at the time. No, I didn't do it. Oh, many reasons. Fear of the police.
Yeah.
When you're on parole and you're an armed robber, or I was,
Mhm.
it's hard to believe that somebody would believe you in a situation like this. Second, my mother was married to a Baton Rouge City police officer for years as a child, and he was not a nice man. He was very abusive, physically abusive and whatnot. So my trust with police is kind of limited, but when the time comes that you tell somebody, look, you're gonna have to leave this home, or I'm gonna call the police, and she slams her arm in a door and says that they'll never believe you.
Okay, let me ask you this.
scared. I
Pardon
was
you.
scared.
All right, so then the day happens that brings us here today.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's what was that was the probable cause in the preliminary hearing, okay, that got you before us today. It says in the police report on 7/28 that Joseph Nedved struck her in the face, arms and legs during a physical altercation. The victim said while striking her with his fist, Joseph also attempted to cut her with a knife. Victim said Joseph then grabbed her hair and dragged her outside where she was unable to flee and contact the police. The police said victim had visible injuries consistent with her testimony, cuts on her face, bruises on her right arm, bruises on her right leg, cuts on her elbow and knees, and several cuts on the right big toe. And then that you stated that it was a mutual altercation and the cuts on, well, I don't know. It says on his chest were self-inflicted. Did you mean her chest or his?
My chest, I had some scratches from work. I used a piece of a plastic fork. I was cutting trees, I had gloves on. I used a piece of a plastic fork to scratch my chest. I was itching. There was a lot of poison oak, poison ivy, whatnot.
So there was
I
nothing.
I had marks on my shoulder right here in the front of my shoulder from her stabbing me with a knife. She poked me a couple of times with a knife. It was nothing major, but she's the one who had the knife. It was not me.
Okay. Did you, and so after all of this, you said that you still love her?
I do. I mean,
From the house, you said she knocked down the TV and she did a lot of damage in the house.
she did. She did a lot. She stole everything I owned. She smashed windows, TV. She pulled the TV down upon herself. She smashed the computer, the living room walls. She put holes in the walls, and I can pretty much say that the cuts on her toes or whatnot, that's from running through glass, from breaking windows. She busted the window out my truck, flattened the tire. Everything was you can't leave me. If you leave me, you're going to jail. And that's what my life consisted of. I'm afraid of her. I do love her, and I can't hate her. A piece of my heart is with her, but I mean, I'm a Christian, so I do my best not to harbor any hatred or hate anyone.
So what would you do? Where would
Yeah.
you go if you were to not be revoked? Where would you go to live? Because you could have no contact with this woman.
That's fully understandable. I would go back to Wynn Parish, to my grandmother's house, my original parole address, Winfield, Louisiana. That was my original parole address. That's where I wanted to go there originally, but she, it was like I was trapped. I was scared of this woman. I didn't know what to do when somebody's threatening the rest of your life in prison. I could have made better decisions. I don't know, but I never want to see her again. All I could do is pray for her healing. That's all. That's my love for her right there, is that maybe one day she can get herself together.
All right, well, I'm gonna pass it to my fellow board members to see if they have any questions.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Till. Yeah, okay. Mr. Callen made a motion for an executive session.
I
Do I have a second? I have a second. We're gonna be in executive session for a few moments, so just hold steady. We're gonna discuss some confidential matters. Can we have a roll call, please?
Freeman,
Yes.
Yes.
Tillis,
Yes.
We haven't made a decision yet. What does it say on that?
Executive session.
Yeah, we should have discussed it. No, we're talking all the time.
Back in session.
I'll make a motion, we get back into regular session.
Second.
Second.
Okay, can I have a roll call? Do we need a roll call?
Freeman,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
Tillis.
Yes.
Okay, we've come to a decision, so Ms. Carolyn will be first. We discussed our confidential matters, so Ms. Carolyn, your vote.
Okay, my vote today, based upon everything that you said, everything that I read, also from your other family members that has witnessed this aggression and rage, that you didn't respond to in any way, and you don't have priors of domestic violence or anything like that. I'm gonna vote not to revoke, but here's the deal. You can have no contact. So if you want to see your daddy, he's gonna have to come to you, because I hope you are sure you can go to Wynn Parish where your grandmother's at
Ma'am.
and stay away from that place.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if she contacts you, you need to call the police and say, she's contacted me, so none of this stuff can come back on you again.
Okay.
My vote today is not to revoke.
I concur.
I also concur, Mr. Netherby, you gotta watch this kind of stuff because you were back in 25 years.
Oh, no.
Could have went back to 25. I'm gonna reiterate, do not go nowhere around this woman. If you need to file a restraining order, file a restraining order, because if you get caught around her, we're gonna revoke.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We could sign out at Washington at 9:46. Thanks to the staff over there.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Wow, who else is surprised he was not revoked? And really, I think the primary reason, or I'll give two, but the one primary reason is that he was back in so much time and they just didn't want to do that. It's basically a life sentence. Now, we have seen them revoke when people were back in life. The biggest one that comes to mind to me, which was the most insane, was the porch pirate. He stole an Amazon box. He was a lifer that was out on parole for habitual armed robbery, and he stole an Amazon box, and they revoked him. They didn't care. So I guess the part two is because he didn't have DV in his record, and they said, well, because of that, maybe we'll believe your story. Either way, it's wild. I'm surprised, but you felt good for him. I felt good for him. I was just hoping it, I it was a roller coaster of my emotions. At first, I'm like, ah, come on. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's true. He certainly was emotional. And I did a search before I published this because this revocation hearing happened all the way back in April. He has not been arrested since then. So good for him. And we're going to watch another hearing. Now, this is for a Chomo. I don't have any information, though. I don't know what kind of Chomo he is or what he did, but he was found at an address, and there were children's clothes there in that address, and part of what got him revoked. Let's jump in.
On 12/13/24, you admitted to living at 20, and your parole officer noticed that children's items were inside the residence. Additionally, on 12/13, you admitted to illegal using marijuana. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
With a statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's talk about it. What happened? What's going on?
All right. I had came home 2 days before Thanksgiving. The day after I came home, I went to the courthouse and report. He wasn't in court. He wasn't in. So I ended up talking to Ms. Leah Bryan. That's who did my paperwork, Ms. Leah Bryan. All right. She sent me back December the 9th. I had to go back December the 9th. When I went back, he still wasn't in. So the 2 days that I did go, Ms. Leah Bryan did my paperwork because she sent me back December the 9th. Okay. When my sister Tanya was moving from Kansas City down here, when she told me that she wasn't gonna be staying in the address that she gave me, I instantly text my PO and let him know it wasn't no the day of it wasn't December the 13th. It was 2 days before. That's how he knew where I was gonna be at 2422 Long Cedar. I never texted him the same day, okay, this is where I'm gonna be. It was 2 days in ahead of time. And he told me to make sure I be home. And I was there the day he came. And I never told him I was smoking marijuana. He asked me, can I pass a drug test? I told him it was only one way to find out. He never drug tested me. But he told my
It said you admitted to using it.
I never told him I was smoking marijuana. The day he pulled up, I was sitting outside on the porch on the phone, smoking a cigarette. So how can you get cigarette confused with marijuana? And you told me to put the cigarette down when you put me in handcuffs.
Did he state why he arrested you?
He told me because of the kids' items. At the end of the day, the lady I was staying with was one of my sister friends. My sister that supposed to been moved from Kansas City. She supposed to been got her own place, but they had to work on the place that she was gonna get. So she decided to stay with her friend for a while until she, get her place together. But at the mix of it, her daughter was just moving out, and her daughter, don't get me wrong, her daughter had a son, but they was moving out already. They moved out already. So that's why her friend was like, okay, it was okay for me to come stay because there wasn't no kids there, but they did have kids' items. I'm not gonna lie about the kids' items, but with no kids present. Her
How long
daughter,
How long have you been here?
I went up there December the 9th, and that's when Mr. Todd told me that I couldn't be on Rolling Street at my mama's house because it was in the area of a daycare, so I had to find somewhere else. Okay, and when I did go to 24th, no, Miss Jeanette, that's who the owner of the house was. She told me I was out if I can stay there because it ain't no area, no daycare, no school, and her grandson and her daughter had just moved out. But the only thing what it was is her daughter just left a lot of stuff behind, a lot of stuff that she couldn't get. And there was a lot of her stuff and her son, no toys, but it wasn't no kids there.
So the kid items and stuff were there when you moved there.
Yes, sir.
I have no questions.
I have a few questions. Your story is kind of different than what you testified to earlier. At the hearing, you said that they were Christmas presents for that.
Yeah, like December. Like, okay, he had a bike there that was his that they didn't take, and his grandma had bought him a toy for Christmas. That's the only thing that was there. Like it wasn't just a lot of toys all over the house or all over the yard.
Okay. And were you smoking a cigarette or a cigar?
I was smoking a cigar. I had cigarettes in my pocket, but I was smoking a cigar. If he felt like it was marijuana, why he didn't keep it?
Hey, just calm down. Don't argue with me. It's just time to tell me the truth. So you were smoking a cigar, but you had cigarettes.
Yes, sir.
Where would you go stay now if you were let out?
With my uncle in Mississippi.
That'll be hard to get approved, but they can try to get that approved. Okay, I have no further questions.
You have worked there, or where were you work? Have you, your uncle is,
Before, no, not to cut you off, when I came home in 21, I was remodeling houses for a man in Farmerville in Monroe by ULM. Then I stopped there and I started working at Sonics in West Monroe and Thomas Road.
so where do you plan to work if you're released?
I really am trying to go offshore on a pipeline when I get out this time. But until the time in, or if it don't come right then and there, I'm just trying to get any little type of job in order to keep me out of here.
Who's paying your fees?
Sir?
Are you having to pay fees, parole fees?
Yeah, I got parole fees and stuff I gotta pay.
Are you up to date with them?
No, I ain't get a chance to pay none of them because I ended up coming back to jail, but I was finna start working. Miss Jeanette, when I was staying with her 24, she worked at the catfish plant down here in Franklin Parish. And she was gonna help me get a job there so I can pay probation and parole and stay out of jail, but I ended up coming to jail.
Okay. So how long you been out? You've been out since 21 or you've been out since 24?
I had came home 2 days before Thanksgiving of 24, and I was back in jail like 3 weeks later.
Okay, so what you got revoked for? Why you went back after you got out in 21?
Because I had a charge from Washington, but they ended up giving me probation on it.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I don't have any.
Okay, Phyllis, you ready to revoke? I mean, ready to vote? I do not say that. No, are you ready to vote?
Yes.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna vote first. Be my vote today to do not revoke, but that you be held until an approved residence can be found and verified by probation and parole.
Yes, sir.
Understand that you gotta find a residence that's not around daycare. It's hard to do. That's not around daycares and not around other things. And so if you find that your probation officer verifies it's a good residence, then you get out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I concur with Mr. Freeman.
And I concur.
Okay. So you're not revoked today, but you got to work on real quickly trying to find an approved residence because you're not gonna get out without one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Good luck to you. Now you better straighten up.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We're now closing out at Franklin. No, where we at? Franklinton Parish Detention Center. Time is
That's pretty remarkable that they didn't revoke. I mean, let me just unpack. I'll unpack what just happened there. So he gets out. He gets out of jail, prison, and within just immediately gets revoked. Why does he get revoked? Well, the probation officer comes and he's in this residence that it's clear that there are children there. Now he can't be there because he's a chomo. Now he does also he's caught with a cigar, which was alluding to it was a blunt, and um, you know, and basically, so he gets revoked. He goes right back to prison. Now he meets the parole board, and this is the thing we see in Louisiana where there are two, really two, I think, parole officers that will show up to these type of hearings. Um, there's the woman and there's a man. I don't remember their names, but you probably recognize them if you're familiar with this channel. They show up every once in a while, and that would of course would have been the nail in the coffin. Now, if they don't show up and they don't do a thorough job, for example, take the blunt and actually prove it's a blunt, um, then you know you don't have the evidence to prove it one way or another. And I think the parole board is maybe running off of that. Remember, Pete Freeman ran the parole and probation office for like 20 something years. He was like the big boss man, so he knows how things work. He's the most familiar person with it in Louisiana, probably alive today. And he maybe that took that as a signal. I'm just trying to justify why they would believe it. And he was saying it with a lot of conviction that there were no children living there, and I don't have a problem believing that. Um, he has served a bunch of time in jail, so maybe that's why they just said, okay, whatever, and maybe we can get you off to Mississippi or whatever. And I looked him up; he hasn't been arrested since. But still, my takeaway from this, and this is where it's serious and I think really important, is that it just goes to show again that just because you're on parole and you have a parole officer that's watching you, um, it it doesn't mean that these chomos won't end up in a house with a little one. So whenever they say, "Well, we're going to let you out, you'll be on supervision," especially with the Connecticut parole hearings, they let these chomos out so easily. It's like, well, that's only going to do so much. They are going to, if they want to, which they do because it's an obsession, they will find a woman who will take them in, and that woman will have children or grandchildren. And they do this. They somehow do it. They're so good. It's in like reptilian-like fashion. Will find to think about the lady that would take in someone who can offer her nothing. What benefit does he bring, this woman with the house and grandchildren? It's insane. It's scary as hell. And, even if the grandchild wasn't there, that he would show up there. That he would be there to get his bike or his toy or for Christmas or whatever. That that's happening. And all my point is that children are not safe because the chomos will find dangerous women, dangerous grandmothers, dangerous mothers, dangerous women with nieces and nephews to latch themselves to, and then gain access to their prey. And he ended up getting caught by a parole officer that was at least doing their job enough to lock him back up. But even you have to assume there are parole officers that aren't. They're busy. There's a lot going on. It's Christmas season. The last thing they want to do is start looking after each other. Oh, where's he at? Let me go give him a surprise visit. And boom, it happens that quickly. And I think you have to be naive, if not willfully naive, to put it lightly, to think that it's not happening every day in every city with these paroles where these chomos are finding ways to violate but never getting caught. It's happening. So whenever they say, well, we'll parole you under supervision, this is just how easy they can end up with access to their prey. And anyways, we're going to end it up with a Lady Holly fact of the day. And why are we doing a Lady Holly fact of the day? So those of you familiar with this channel will know that Lady Holly used to do all of this information, all this research, and I'm going back into the spreadsheet, and here it is, 4/29/2025, going through different hearings and going through Lady Holly's notes. And Lady Holly, I'm afraid, I think I have to admit it, I don't think she's with us any longer. I'm afraid she may have passed away The last we heard from her was months and months ago, and infection had taken in, and she was going to the hospital, and couldn't find an obituary, but it's tough when you're in Australia and it's a popular name to find. But every time I go into the spreadsheet, it is like she is here with us. And there was no information she could find on this case that we just saw, but she did leave a fact of the day. So I will read it. And while reading it, I am thinking of you, Lady Holly. You can't milk another person's cow. As tempting as milking someone else's cow may be, you must refrain from this action in Texas. Yeah, Christina, this is for you. Older laws in Texas Penal Code prohibit the milking of someone else's cow, punishable with a fee not exceeding $10. Current laws still make milking another person's cow illegal, but now the perpetrator faces theft of the personal property charges. Bahaha, this is gold. I don't think I quite get it. I have to read it again. But I mean, I guess before it was a $10 fine and now it's like it's a different type of act. So why would you milk someone else's cow? Oh, I mean, I guess if you wanted milk. If you here, let's put it this way. If you are that desperate for milk and you go into someone's place and you milk that cow, I really hope you don't get prosecuted. I really hope whoever catches you milking the cow offers you some cookies too to go with it. Anyways, with that, I'll let you go.
I didn't agree with it at the time. No, I didn't do it. Oh, many reasons. Fear of the police.
Yeah.
When you're on parole and you're an armed robber, or I was,
Mhm.
it's hard to believe that somebody would believe you in a situation like this. Second, my mother was married to a Baton Rouge City police officer for years as a child, and he was not a nice man. He was very abusive, physically abusive and whatnot. So my trust with police is kind of limited, but when the time comes that you tell somebody, look, you're gonna have to leave this home, or I'm gonna call the police, and she slams her arm in a door and says that they'll never believe you.
Okay, let me ask you this.
scared.
Pardon
was
you.
scared.
All right, so